Every sales compensation plan sends a message. It tells people what the company rewards, what it truly values, how it sees performance, and how much it trusts its people. Those messages are sent whether leadership intended them or not. I want to start with a company many leaders will recognize. Imagine a growing software business. For the past 2 years, the leadership team has been telling everyone that customer success is now one of the most important parts of the company's future. They say it in company-wide meetings, they say it in leadership updates, and they say it when they talk about strategy. The message is clear. The company no longer wants to win customers and then lose them quietly later. It wants stronger customer relationships, better renewals, more expansion from existing customers, and a business that grows in a healthier way. At the executive level, everyone believes this, they mean it. But then you open the sales compensation plan. The plan pays the sales team well for bringing in new customers, but it pays little or almost nothing when existing customers grow. The customer success team is measured mainly on keeping customers, but the target has become harder each year, and there is very little in the plan that rewards the wider customer growth story leadership keep talking about. So what does the company actually believe? That is the uncomfortable question, because the plan is often more honest than the presentation. The company may say customer success is the future, but the plan may still be paying people as if new customers are the only thing that really matters. The strategy may say expansion is important, but the pay plan may be telling people that expansion is optional. Leadership may say customer quality matters, but if the plan pays the same for poor quality revenue as it does for good quality revenue, the field will understand the message. And that message will travel faster than any strategy slide. Welcome to Sales Comp Decoded, the story behind how companies pay people to sell. I am Abimbola, and today we're talking about what your sales plan says behind your back. In the previous episode, we talked about the plan nobody admits was never designed. The idea was simple. Many sales compensation plans were not built from intention. They accumulated over time, carrying old decisions and old assumptions into a business that may have already moved on. Today, I want to take that idea one step further, because a sales compensation plan does not only pay people, it speaks. It speaks to your seller, your managers, your finance team, your human resources team, your candidates, your high performance, and even the people who are quietly deciding whether they still trust the system. It says something about what the company values. It says something about what the company is willing to reward. It says something about what the company believes good performance look like. And the most important part is this. The plan speaks whether leadership meant to send that message or not. I learned to pay attention to this because when you walk close to sales conversation, you begin to notice something that is easy to miss from the leadership table. People notice the gap between what leaders say and what the plan rewards. They may not challenge it openly. They may not mention it in a survey. They may not raise their hands in a company meeting and say, your plan is contradicting your strategy. But they notice. And once they notice, they adjust. That does not make them cynical. It makes them rational. Every seller receives two kinds of signal from the company. One comes through words, such as strategy messages, manager conversation, and leadership updates. The other comes through money, through what is measured and what is rewarded, what is ignored and what finally appears in their payouts. When those two signals point in the same direction, the company feels coherent. People may still debate the details, but the message is clear. When those two signals conflict, on the other hand, people usually trust the plan, and they are right to do so. The plan is the message with money attached. It is the message that shows up in the bank account. It is the message that determines whether extra effort produces extra income or not. A strategy message can inspire, and a manager can encourage, but the compensation plan is the commitment, and that is why it matters so much. If you want to know what a company is really asking its sales team to do not only listen to the strategy, read the compensation plan. The plan may reveal that a company says it values profitable growth, but pays as though all revenue is equally good. It may reveal that a company says it wants more growth from existing customers, but still reward only new customer acquisition. It may reveal that a company says quality matters, but pays more for speed. It may reveal that a company wants long-term trust, but has built a plan that creates short-term pressure. This is where compensation becomes part of culture. I do not mean culture as a slogan on the wall. I mean culture as what the company repeatedly funds, tolerates, and celebrates. One of the strongest messages a plan sends is about priority. A company may say it has several priorities, but the plan often tells the field which one matters most. If most of the variable pay is tied to new customer revenue, while customer growth or retention carries only a small weight, the company has sent a clear message. It may not have meant to say that retention is less important, but the plan has said it anyway, and sellers are very good at reading that kind of message. They know that a measure with a small weight does not carry the same force as the measure that drives most of their income. They know that a bonus, which is difficult to understand, will not compete with a commission they can calculate quickly. They know that something leadership talks about but does not reward is different from something that affects their pay. This does not mean every strategic priority should become a pay measure. That will make the plan too complicated. The point is simpler. When the plan rewards something strongly, people believe it matters. When it rewards something lightly, people assume it matters less. And when it does not reward something at all, people may question whether it truly matters in the field at all. So the plan is always telling people where to place their attention. It also tells them something about trust. The structure of a compensation plan reveals what a company believes about its salespeople. If a plan allows people to earn from early performance, it sends one kind of message. It says, in effect, we recognize progress and we trust that your work has value even before you reach the full targets. A plan with a very high threshold and a hard cutoff sends a different message. It may be saying we only want to reward meaningful achievements, which can be reasonable in some roles, but it can also be heard as your work only counts after you cross this line. That does not mean thresholds are bad. They can protect the business and create focus, but every threshold carries a message. And the higher the threshold, the more carefully that message needs to be explained, because a seller does not experience a threshold as a technical design choice. They experience it as a line between efforts that counts and efforts that does not. If someone finishes below the threshold in a difficult market and earns nothing, the company may say the rule was clear. But the seller may hear something else. They may hear that their effort had no value. They may hear that the company only recognized success in a narrow way. They may hear that too much risk has been pushed onto them. The seller is not always right. The company should not pay for everything. But the plan is still saying something, and leadership needs to understand what that message sounds like to the people receiving it. The same thing happens with upside. A plan that limits earnings above a certain point tells one story about success. It may say the company wants cost control and predictability. A plan with strong reward above target tells another story. It may say that the company wants exceptional performance and is prepared to share more of the upside when sellers create more value. Neither approach is automatically right or wrong. What matters is whether the message matches the business. High performers listen carefully to that message. They want to know whether the company truly wants them to exceed targets or whether it only wants them to reach targets and then slow down. They want to know whether exceptional effort is celebrated only in words or whether the pay model supports it. This is where the plan starts speaking to talents. The way a company sets total earnings opportunity, the way it treats overperformance, the way it benchmarks pay against the markets, and the way it designs for different sales roles all communicate how much the company believes those roles matter. Candidates read that signal. Current employees read it too. A company may say sales is strategic, but if the earnings opportunity is far below the market, if the upside is limited, and the role carries high risk with low reward, or if the mechanics are unclear, people will form their own conclusion. They may not say the company does not value the function, but they will feel it. And once people feel that, the employer brand is no longer only what is written on the career page. It is what the pay system confirms. This is why compensation design is never just technical. It affects how people interpret fairness. It influences whether they believe leadership. It affects whether managers can stand confidently in front of their teams. It shapes whether finance sees the plan as an investment or as a cost problem. It determines whether human resource can defend the plan when question comes. And it tells the sales organization what the company is really serious about. The difficult part is that most wrong messages are not sent deliberately. The company I described earlier did not consciously decide to tell its team that customer success was less important than new customer acquisition. What happened was more ordinary than that. The plan had been built when the business was in a different stage, when winning new customers quickly was the central priority. That plan made sense then, but the business changed. Retention became more important. Expansion became more important. Customer quality became more important. The economics of the business shifted from pure acquisition to healthier growth from the existing customer base. And leadership understood that shift. The strategy has changed. The language has changed. The meeting has also changed, but the plan did not change enough. So for 2 years, leadership said one thing, while the compensation plan said another, and the team followed the plan. This is how a business can appear to be performing well against targets, while quietly moving away from a strategic direction. The dashboard may look fine. People may be hitting the metric they were given. Payouts may be processed correctly. Managers may say the plan is working because people are earning and revenue is coming in. But underneath, the plan may still be pulling attention towards the old model. That is one reason sales compensation is so powerful and so risky at the same time. It can keep the business moving, but in the wrong direction. And the longer that misalignment continues, the more normal it becomes. People stop questioning why growth from existing customer does not pay meaningfully. They stop asking why customer health is praised in meeting, but has little effect on incentives. They stop expecting the plan to match the strategy. Instead, they learn the real rules of the game. And once the field learns the real rules, leadership has to work much harder to change behavior later. This is the point many executives miss. The compensation plan is not just a reward system, it's a communication system. It communicates every month, every quarter, and every payout cycle. It communicates when someone checks their commission statements. It communicates when a manager explains a target. It communicates when a seller compares two opportunities and decides where to spend time. It communicates when a person realizes that the work leadership praises is not the work the plan rewards. So the question is not whether your plan is speaking. The question is whether it is saying what you think it is saying. There is a simple way to test this. Take the strategy your company has been communicating this year. Keep it plain. Maybe the business is focused on profitable growth, stronger retention, better expansion, healthier margins, or more strategic accounts. Then open the compensation plan and read it as if you had never heard a leader explain the strategy. What would a reasonable person conclude from the plan alone? Would they conclude that profitable growth matters, or that any revenue is good revenue? Would they conclude that existing customers matter, or that only new customers are truly rewarded? Would they conclude that customer quality is central to the business, or that it is mostly language? Would they conclude that the company trusts the sales team, or that the plan is built mainly around control? That exercise can be uncomfortable because it removes the comfort of intention. It does not matter what leadership hope the plan would say. It matters what the plan actually says. Sometimes, the plan reveals a gap no one wanted to see. It may show that leadership is asking for long-term behavior through short-term mechanics. It may show that a company wants collaboration while rewarding individual ownership too strongly. It may show that the business wants profitable revenue but still pays in a way that encouraging discounting. It may show that customer success is described as strategic but paid like a support function. When you see that gap, the answer is not to always add another measure. That will be a mistake. For instance, a company noticed that something is important, so it adds it to the plan. Then another priorities appear, so that is added too. Before long, the plan is trying to say everything at once. And when a plan says too many things, people stop hearing the message clearly. The better response is to decide what the plan must say clearly and what should be managed elsewhere. Some behaviors belong in coaching, some belong in performance management, some belong in enablement, governance, or manager's discipline. The things that enter the compensation plan should be there because they are important enough to carry an economic signal. That is why simplicity is not about making the document shorter. Simplicity is about making the message clearer. A simple plan tells people what matters most and makes the trade-off easy to understand. A complicated plan often reflects a leadership team that has not made the trade-off clearly enough. This is where executive discipline matters. If everything is important, the plan becomes noisy. And when the plan becomes noisy, sellers look for the clearest economic path, which may not be the path leadership intended. So, once a year, outside the rush of budget season if possible, leadership should sit with a compensation plan and read it as a message to the field. What does it say about priority? What does it say about trust? What does it say about performance? What does it say about the value of the role? More importantly, does that message match the company you're trying to build? Because when managers can explain the plan, they do more than answer questions. They translate leadership intent into field confidence. They help people understand the logic behind the mechanics. They reduce the space where suspicion grows. But when managers cannot explain the plan, the gap becomes dangerous. A manager may say, "This is the plan we were given." That may be true, but it does not build confidence. It makes the plan feel distant and mechanical. It tells the seller that even their manager does not fully understand the logic. And when the person closest to the seller cannot explain the plan is already weaker than it looks. This matters for executives because the plan often carries messages leadership never hears directly. A seller may not tell the chief executive that the plan makes expansion feel unimportant, but they may behave as if it's important. A manager may not tell human resource that the threshold feels difficult to defend, but they may struggle when the question comes. Finance may not say the plan is encouraging the wrong kind of revenue, but the margin pressure may appear later. By the time the issues become visible at leadership level, the message may have been traveling through the organization for months. That is why the plan should never be treated as something people receive once a year and then forget about it. It is a living signal. It is active every time a seller chooses where to spend time, every time a manager gives guidance, and every time a payout confirms what the company truly rewards. So, here is a practical lesson. Before you ask whether the plan is competitive, affordable, or simple, ask whether it is honest. Does it reflect the strategy? Does it reward the behavior leadership says matters? Does it show the right balance between risk, fairness, performance, and trust? Does it support the role the business needs today instead of the role it needed several years ago? If the answer is yes, the plan is doing more than paying people. It is reinforcing strategy, helping managers communicate with confidence, and giving sellers a clear signal about the kind of performance the company values. But if the answer is uncertain, that is not a failure. It is a signal that there is work to do. And the work begins by listening to the plan people are actually using, the plan people are reading, calculating, and the plans that managers are explaining. Because your sales compensation plan is already speaking behind your back. The question is whether you agree with what it is saying or not. Next week, we're going back to one of the oldest assumptions in sales compensation, the belief that commission is a natural way to pay sellers. We will look at why that idea became so powerful, why it still shapes modern companies, and why some of its assumptions may no longer fit the way businesses sell today. I am Abimbola, and this is Sales Comp Decoded, the stories behind how companies pay people to sell. If this episode made you think differently about your own plan, share it with one person in your organization who talk about strategy but may not have sat with a compensation plan in their hands. Because your plan is already communicated, make sure it is saying what you want the business to hear.